Greetings, namaste, Monson Karma here right now at Audio Advent, bringing you this wonderful bundle of joy by NUX. This is a device called MG30. This is one of their processors, which I got a chance to get acquainted to recently, and I thought, why not do a demo with it? Thanks to Deep Music for providing me with this unit for the demo purposes. This device will be going back to Deep, and if you want the device itself, definitely contact Deep Music here. So about this device, this comes with this box packing. Let's get rid of that. And what you get is a accoutrement of pretty cool stuff. It comes with the power cable that all the devices should come with, and the power cable itself is pretty cool. We'll show you on maybe a photo right now. And it comes, another thing that it comes with, which I'm pretty impressed with, is this switch. What this switch does is adds up 2 more buttons to your unit, and coming from a live scenario perspective, this becomes pretty helpful. A lot of times what happens is with devices of this size, you can't really fit much buttons in here, and that can be a limitation for a lot of players. And NUX has decided to address it with this, which is a pretty cool addition. Other companies should learn. And now what we can go to is the IOs. All the IOs on the device is pretty adequate. This is all you will ever need. One thing that I'd like to point out, again from a live perspective, the input is pretty far off from the other ins and outs, which is pretty helpful when you're on the dark stages and you have to set up pretty quick. And yeah, pretty robust too. The pedal works good, and on the device itself, there's individual switches, button switches for your compressor, amp, EQ, delay, reverb, mod, IR effects, which again for live purposes is a pretty handy thing to have. The screen itself is a pretty cool screen. You don't get bored of watching it. Pretty much it's well built, like, what can I say, and it punches way above its price range. Right now you can find this device maybe for $299 to $320, $330, depending on where you live. For Nepali people, for people in Nepal, you can directly get to Deep Music. You can reach them out for the device. And yeah, let's begin. For the intents and purposes of this video, and for our own conveniences, what we have done is we have selected a bunch of presets, the default presets that have come in MG30, and we have made our own tweaks to them. So let's go through them. What we have is a variety of amps, ranging from Marshall kind to cleans and a high gain amp. So yeah, let's go through them. The first one is named LT Plexi Crunch, and you can find the same names in your own devices. It's just that we have made a bit of our own tweaks here. And this one is here with an IR, and the amp is, as you can pretty evidently see, Marshall Plexi style. Pretty usable. And for what I'm looking into this device for, what I want to see is how usable the tones are. And I'm basing my standards off of the devices that are mainstay in the studio and when we are doing live, which are Quad Cortex, Helix, and a Kemper. I personally prefer the Kemper. And whatever you are going to hear, hopefully, is me trying to get as close to getting the good sounds that I usually hear through those devices. And again, this device is like, what, $300 something. You can get the price below in the link. So pretty tough competition, and no corners to complain about. Let's go to the next amp. The next one we will get to a high gain amp. It's written Uber high gain, which is probably Ubersal. Like, again, pretty evident. The graphics pretty neatly done in the app, as you can see. Pretty intuitive too. There's no learning curve whatsoever. The microphone here is an SM57 kind of setup. So yeah, let's hear it. The reason I wanted you to hear it on the neck pickup was it still cuts through, you know. A lot of times what happens is in the price range that this device sits in, it's difficult to get the sound really cut through the mix. And when I hear this amp right now, it can cut through, you know. Let's go to another. It's written VT clean. We are at 5C. It has 32 banks, 32, yeah, if I'm not wrong. 34 banks, and each bank has 4 presets. So right now we are at 5C. This is again pretty evidently an AC30 kind of amp with Neumann, and you know, this microphone is pretty easily adjustable. Like, you can set it on the edge, on the middle, on the center. Again, goes with what I said before. It's pretty intuitive. The user experience is class A, and yeah, I personally couldn't ask for anything more for whatever it has provided so far. Pretty good deal. Let's see how this sounds. That was it. Let's move on to the next one. Again, a high gain. It's the same amp that I used before for another high gain setup, but this one is a little different on the tweak, and it has a Royer style microphone, which is a ribbon microphone, which I really love the sound of. So let's hear this. So this one I have set it up to be the closest to the kind of high gain sounds that I use for my own band, Harip Tatwa. There's this particular song that we sing, which is Tara Zai, where the riff goes. Really mean sounding amp, and yeah, the combo is exactly what I really like. The sound combo that this one is giving. And as you could see, if you saw what we did there, all these amps are coming to you direct from the device. All the IR, all the cabinets and the amp, everything is from NUX right now. And to make the point really clear that the device itself has pretty good and usable amp simulations, I've chosen to just do the amps for this first round. So now let's move on to a clean sound. Like, you can pretty much see that there are devices that we have hooked up here there are components that we have hooked up here within the signal chain, but everything is off. What you're hearing is just the amp simulation, the microphone, the cabinet, or the IR, whatever. And this one seems to me to be a Sennheiser. Let's see. Yeah. And yeah, there's like 8 different choices in the microphones. So I think the way everything is built up so far, and it's only been like 2 hours that we have set it up and played it ourselves, so there's no learning curve. That's the best part of being able to use a device like this. There's the learning curve literally 0, and NUX has not overloaded it with things that you would probably never use, or you would probably just fling with. What I see this device as is a pretty good and solid live performing device and recording device. So far, the processors that it has, they really work well for the dynamics and the range of this device, and what you get tonally in terms of sound. So yeah, so far pretty impressive. And those were the amps that I wanted to check out and demonstrate to you guys. Pretty evidently, if what I'm hearing, if that's exactly what you're hearing, or at least 80% of what I'm hearing, if you're hearing that, this device is pretty impressive. And so far, like, as you can see, I've already set up these components to go with it. A lot of them were on the presets already. We just maybe changed a few pedals here and there, or changed the parameters on them, but nothing much. So let's again go to where we came first, the LT Plexi Crunch. Now let's do some reverb and modulations and delays. Let's see how those sound. I want to turn this tube screamer on, and the reverb. This is a large hall kind of reverb, and the tube screamer is set up to, the drive is 30, 80 on the level, tone 50. Now my hope is that it tightens up the sound, which it pretty much does. You hear that was on the reverb, and the tube screamer does its job as it should. A lot of times what happens is you fiddle with the pedals given in the device, and in your head there's this one sound, and when you fiddle with the actual component inside the device, it's completely different, and it disappoints you, and then it sort of kills your inspiration when you're hooking up with a new device like this. But So far, what I've found good about NUX is they have only packed as much as you will ever need. So there's not much in the way of, let's say, you're not going to be optionally paralyzed. Like there's no option paralysis here. There's just the right amount of amps, just the right amount of delays, just the right amount of drives, just the right amount of modulations, and definitely you can always pick which works with you and which does not. And some of them, as you can see in the presets that I've switched over, I've tried to deal with the components that I feel good with, like the tube screamer, hall reverb on the modulation. And for this channel, we have gone with the phase, and there's a noise gate that's activated. Exactly the way I said it. When you do the tube screamer, it tightens up the sound. This is without the tube screamer. It's definitely on the opener end, but on the open end, but we all like it a bit tight, don't we? Let's add to it some delay. The mix right now is 33 repeats 36 times 68. Pretty solid. What should we look at? The EQ. Let's move on to the next. Another high gain sound, super high gain. Here, let's do some mod first. This is a pedal called detune. Within the effect unit here, the shift left is set to 40, the shift right is 60, and the mix is 41. That's with the detune switched on. Now without the detune. Just for reference, I'm going to bump the mix a little bit so you know what the device is actually doing. Pretty cool sounding. Very 90s like. Now with a minimum amount of mix. And one rule of thumb that I go by with any devices of these sorts is, a lot of times what you need to do is just find the sounds that work for you. It does not matter whatever the graphical representation of that image is showing. Definitely it helps you to get what you're looking for, but sometimes if you just judge it by the sound of it, the usability of it, with these kind of devices, that's the right way to choose. But all that being said, what NUX has done is a phenomenal job, and the sounds I'm hearing right now are pretty cool. And none of the graphical imagery right now has been deceiving. Like, whatever I'm looking for, that's what I'm getting. With this particular pedal, T-Tune, I really like it. Like, I'm definitely into those 90s kind of drifting, drony kind of sounds, so I definitely like it. Let's check on some delays. This is a dual delay engine. I guess this is what NUX has on their own. So let's switch it on. You can hear the feedback on the mix. Pretty good. I personally don't use much of delays on that level. Whatever I do live, all it requires is a little nudge, a little touch, and I'm done. Normally, if I had to point out, I'm just a straight up amp, stripes, reverb. Just get those to me. I'm pretty kicking on the stage after that. And definitely there's time when the song demands the sounds off of you, and this device pretty much has it covered. None of the tones that I'm hearing so far have disappointed me, and even within the presets, which again, devices of these sorts pretty commonly run into those problems where the factory presets are not that good. So, but what NUX has done here is again another phenomenal job making the presets sound nice right out of the box, where I guess all we tweaked these amps were for like maybe 30 minutes, and within 30 minutes I had everything that I wanted just dialed in right. On this clean amp, the VT clean, the one we used when we did the AC30 kind of reference, let's see what the tape echo does. The time is set to 80, level 20, the repeat is 70. Again, just so you know what the device is really doing, let's bump the levels. Let's decrease the time to the amount that I usually also prefer for riffs. It's very snappy. pretty swell, huh? And the Univibe, something I really like. Let's also put the booster on. Let's play a bit with the Univibe. Let's get a bit more intense. Let's decrease the speed. And that's the Univibe on the VT Clean. Let's go to the SF Chalk Monster, the one that I set up to sound like my own band. And let's play around with the mod here, put some chorus, or let's go a bit extravagant, flanger. Pretty decent sounding flanger. Usually the nature of these devices is that they don't hold up to effects like this pretty well. Again, so far whatever I'm hearing, the NUX has me impressed. Let's decrease the depth, increase the width a little bit, decrease the rate, get the feedback level down. Let's push in some reverb. Let's go all out. Let's do the delay too. One other effect that I really want to show you guys is the compressor. The compressors here are pretty good. The Rose Comp, K Comp, Studio Comp. For the purposes of this one, I'm switching to the K Comp. Let's do this here. Keep the levels down. You really hear the compression going on. Like, this is switched off. This is switched on. So yeah, what I mean to say is, bottom line, this device is good. NUX has not put too much on it, and whatever you are getting with the device is literally just quite enough. And another concern that many of us might have is, right now this device is 3 years old already, and so is it worth it still? To me, again, the way I am basing off my standards for this device is, I'm a Kemper user myself, and within the studio or in live situations, I usually deal with Quad Cortex or Line 6 or my own Kemper. And for me, how I can imagine using this device is, number one, I would feel pretty safe if I had this for backup. Number two, let's say there was no backup situation and I just had to go for a quick gig with something that I really want to, that's something that I know will sound good. This would be that device right now. And for the kind of price that it comes with, it is pretty practical to think about getting one for a situation like that too. So yeah, kudos to NUX. And I hope whatever you have heard right now makes sense to you. And again, I have not dwelled too much into whatever the device offers in terms of the interface, in terms of the usability, which you can find tons of videos already on the internet for. What I wanted to show you was my practical applications with the device itself. And there's this wah foot switch where you can do the volume stuff really well. Like, and the same pedal comes with wah. You can do the wah stuff, you can do the volume, you can do the pitch shifting, all kinds of different stuff. So, and even those sound pretty decent. And for my own practical uses, the video that we made here today was what I would be using, like in terms of live or in terms of recording. And to me, this passed the test. And one other thing, this cool edition that it comes with, this is a good touch.